I had this crazy idea of how to do epic thumbnails right inside of Final Cut from one of the new features that's in Final Cut that I absolutely love, which is Magic Mask. Now, the other day, I was doing a live stream and I'm talking to Simply Taisha and I was helping her out with some thumbnails. And I thought like, oh, I have this really cool idea. So I attempted to do this live and I realized after we were done, the one mistake that I forgot, but you don't have to worry about that. I'm going to show you how to do this. It's actually super simple. And this is good for people who like to take that thumbnail shot directly out of a frame of the video. Me personally, I normally take thumbnail photos. It's a little bit different than pulling a frame out of a video, but in this case, it's fine. The video that she made was in 4K, so we got plenty of resolution to work with. This will work fine in 1080. It'll work better in 4K, but let me just hop into Final Cut real quick and show you what's going on. This is sick. This is super sick. So I'm going to pop over here, flip over to Final Cut. And so here's her video. And in her video, I just want to find a good frame. So at the very beginning, of course, she did the really cool technique of smiled and hold, right? Whenever you start your video, if you do the recording technique of smile and hold and then talk, it makes it easier to edit. So this video is already edited. So we're just going to tap in and find a couple frames. I like this frame, but I also like this one because I like the hand open. It seems very welcoming. So what I'm going to do is blade this right here. So I'll go ahead and blade this clip and then I'll go ahead and delete the rest of this. We don't need that. So I'll shift this out. And what I want to do is this right here. You see where it turns gray? This is basically 3 frames. I want this particular frame. So I'm going to highlight this clip and I'm going to hit Shift+H to pull the whole frame. Just to show you where that is, if we click over here and come down to the bottom, you'll see where it says hold. So I'll stick a whole frame on here and let's put this here. I'm going to move the cursor about there. And then I'll go ahead and snap a hold frame. Shift+H is the shortcut key, by the way. So we go ahead and pull that out. And so now I have a whole frame, okay? So in theory, I could click here and go ahead and blade this because I don't need that. We can get rid of that. And then this right here should have no motion. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to Shift-Z to make it fit. We're going to grab this particular piece, hold down the Option key, and then lift up, okay? Now, what I want to do is with the top one selected, I want to click on the magic wand and come down to magnetic mask. And then I'm going to just select, I'm going to start by her elbow because that's going to be one of the hardest parts to separate. And then we got a good mask right here. There's one little hole right there. Everything looks good. If there was something outside of the mask that didn't work, you would take the minus key up here in the top and then look for a place where you'd want to fix it. And then you could simply put negative mask in those areas. In this particular case, for what we're going to do, it doesn't quite matter. Hit analyze. Now it should be simple because this is just a single frame. So the analyzation should happen really, really quickly. And then once that's over, we're going to go ahead and press done. Okay. Now what I want to do is go and grab a title slide. I realized what I did wrong the other day. This was super stupid, but I'm going to pull this title slide and drop it right here. I'm going to go to the end of this frame and I'm going to use my Option right bracket to close that off. I'm going to turn off any sort of animation and there is the words that I wanted to use. And now, if I remember correctly, I believe she had this set up as maintenance, but let's just do simply Taisha. All right, I'm just going to use that. And then I'm going to shrink the words down. Of course, she wouldn't just use her name as a thumbnail, but the text is irrelevant for this. I'm going to use this particular guy to move this up to the top. And then you're going to be on her channel, so you sort of know what this is. And let's just say do this lowercase and B nail. Okay, so now I could take this particular one and I'm going to put it on the opposite side, right? By just holding the mouse in here and dragging it to and fro. And then I'm going to lift it up with the Y axis. So whichever title that you use, if you use one of the built-in ones, it's going to be very similar to this. This just happens to be one that I have from Premium VFX, but they'll all absolutely work. The one thing I screwed up last time, which I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get the background missing, is I had left the background turned on. So all I need to do in here is either drop the background opacity to 0 or just turn the background off. So if I drop the background opacity to 0, you'll see the overarching effect that we were trying to pull in this thumbnail. Now, one other thing I would do in order to make this pop is I would click on the bottom one and then either use one of the color wheels or pull something like that, make it a little bit darker in the back. I know if I remember correctly, her colors are a little bit green. So let me take this one off and let the back one be a little bit more green, in which case I could always come up here to the color wheel and sort of move the highlights into the green, right? I can move the shadows into the green, move some of the midtones into the green, and then now it starts to look more according to her brand. And then you can go really crazy with how you do this. And then since it's the back one, we want to desaturate this a little bit. I'll go ahead and pull that down. And then, so yeah, here's a cool way to use a hold frame to make a thumbnail for your video. It's real simple. And once you're done here, all you're going to do is go up to the top. And when you go to share, you can do export the file or export a single frame. And right here, you'll see it says save current frame. So all I do is hit that save the current frame. And then we'll just call this. Yep. And then go ahead and press enter. And you see it down here. It's going to be saved as a JPEG. If you had another thing you wanted, like a PNG or something, you can do that as well. And then I don't really need to worry about anything else. I'm going to go ahead and save it. You'll notice I'm saving it as 4K, which is way huge for YouTube, but it will work in our favor. So in this case, I'll go ahead and minimize Final Cut for a second, and I'll go ahead and double click and open up this frame. And there you have a really epic thumbnail. Now, of course, YouTube does not need it to be that big. So we could have automatically came in. Technically, YouTube is 1280 by 720, but I tend to make mine 1920 by 1080. Have no idea why. It's just something that I always do. In this particular case, you'll see 5 megabytes is way too huge. So what we'll do is double check the size, make sure it is small. Yeah, it's too big. So what we're going to do is go ahead here and export as a JPEG, which I probably should have done in the first place, because our goal is we have to keep it under 2 megabytes in order to work as a YouTube thumbnail. What's sort of epic about doing the thumbnail this way is you might have some titles that have already taken care of the graphic design for you, right? So if you have a bunch of titles in your Final Cut, I'm sure this also works in Premiere and DaVinci because they all have this same sort of masking technique. You see it a lot where people doing a video and it kind of moves in the back. If you ever watched the TV show Will Trent, this is something that they do. I think Silicon Valley, old TV show, used to do it. So just using that same technique, you're able to pull off this kind of thumbnail. So again, find your frame inside Final Cut. You're going to find your frame that you want to use. You're going to do Shift+H to hold that frame. You don't have to blade the other pieces off if this is your video that you're going to use. From that particular frame, you can just blade the 2 ends, lift up that particular frame, put your title in between, run the magic mask, make sure the background's not on, and then save it out. I hope this makes sense. It's a really cool technique if you go and pull it off. And this saves you, if you're already in Final Cut. I know people say, why would you do this Final Cut? You can just do this in Canva. I'm already in Final Cut. It's already open. I'm done editing. And all I need to do is export this. I don't have to leave and go somewhere else. That in itself will save a lot of time. And when it comes to making your videos and coming down with the system, if you're the type of person who pulls a frame out of your video, put the title in your editing program and export that frame. It will save you a whole step of bringing it into Canva and doing anything else crazy like that. So yes, you can do it in Canva, Photoshop, Adobe Express, but you're already in Final Cut. You might as well do it where you sit. It's one of those things. It's one of those things. It's like if you fold the laundry as soon as you take it out of the dryer, it's much more likely to get folded. very much in that technique. That is the video for today. If you like this video, press the subscribe button, ring the bell so you never miss out on another piece of content. I do content creation tips and tech tips for Gen X and Gen X Plus creators. Of course, anybody can watch, but those are my people because they think like I do and don't understand my weird 80s references. So go ahead and pop that button. Right about now, the algorithm is going to show you another video they think you should watch, and I agree with them. It's really funny now as I got to bring this back in the Final Cut and export it. Right there, click that.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet.